Namaste. So tonight I'm going to read Book 7, Chapter 17, on the freeing of Sunasepa and the curing of Harishchandra. Om Vakratuna Mahakaya Surya Koti Hari Om Tat Sat. Vyasa said, O king, when Vishwamitra saw that the boy was crying very pitifully, he went to him with a merciful heart and said, O child, I am giving you the Varuna mantra. Recollect this within your mind, and if you go on repeating this mantra silently, you will certainly fare well. The sorrowful Sunasepa, hearing thus from Vishwamitra, began to repeat silently in his mind the above mantra, clearly pronouncing each letter. O king, no sooner Sunasepa repeated the Ap mantra than the kind-hearted Varuna came suddenly before the boy, greatly pleased with him. Everyone in the assembly became thoroughly surprised to see Varuna Deva come there, and they all became glad and chanted hymns in honor of him. The diseased Harishchandra was also thoroughly surprised, fell to his feet, and with folded palms began to sing hymns to Varuna standing before him. Harishchandra said, O Deva of the Devas, I am very vicious, my intellect is much defiled. I am a sinner before you. O merciful one, now show your mercy and sanctify this humble self. I was very much troubled on not having a son, so I had disregarded your words. Now show your mercy on me. What offense can cling to him whose intellect is already out of order? A beggar does not see his own faults. I am also in want of a son, so I could not see my defects. O Lord, being afraid of the terrors of hell, I have deceived you. Those who are sonless cannot find rest anywhere. Especially he is barred from the heavens. Being terrified by this dictate of Sastra, I have shown disregard to your words. O Lord, you are wise and I am ignorant. Especially I am extremely afflicted by this terrible disease. I am now deprived of my son, so you ought not to take any notice of my faults. O Lord, I do not know where my son is gone. O merciful one, perhaps he, being afraid of his life, has fled away to some forest. For your satisfaction, I have now commenced your sacrifice with this purchased boy. I gave an equivalent value, and I have purchased this boy. O Deva of the Devas, your sight only has taken away my infinite troubles. Now if you be pleased, I can be free of this disease dropsy, and my troubles will all be over. Vyasa said, O king, hearing thus the words of that diseased king, Varuna the Deva of the Devas took pity on him and thus spoke. Varuna said, O king, Sunasepa is uttering hymns of praise to me. He has become very distressed, so quit him. Your sacrifice too is now completed. Now let you be free from your present disease. Thus saying, Varuna freed the king of this disease in the presence of all his counselors. The king became possessed of a beautiful body and got himself completely cured and shone bright before the assembly. Shouts of victory arose from the midst of the sacrificial ground when the Brahmin boy was freed of his bonds of rope by the mercy of the high-souled dear Varuna. The king became very glad on his being recovered immediately from his disease and Sunasepa too became free from his anxiety and pacified when he got himself liberated. From his being immolated at the sacrificial post. Then the king Harishchandra completed his sacrifice with great modesty. Afterwards, Sunasepa addressed the councillors with folded palms and said, O councillors, you know well Dharma, O speakers of truth, kindly specify according to the dictates of the Vedas, O omniscient ones, whose son am I now? Who is my most respectful father? Please deliver your judgment, and I will take his refuge. When Sunasepa spoke thus, the members of the assembly began to speak to each other. The boy must be of Ajigartha, whose else can he be? This boy is born of the limbs of Ajigartha, and he has nursed him according to his might. So he must be his son. Who else can he be? Vamadeva then told the people of the assembly, the father of the boy sold his son for money. The king purchased him, so he can be said as the son of the king, or he may be called the son of Varuna, inasmuch as he freed from his rope bondage. For he who nourishes another with food, who saves one from one's fear, who protects one by giving money, who bestows learning to anybody, and he who gives birth to any of the above 5 classes of persons can be called his father, O king. Thus someone turned out to be in favor of Ajigartha, some other in favor of the king, but nobody came to any definite conclusion. When matters stood in this doubtful condition, the omniscient, all-respected Vasishtha Deva addressed the disputing members thus, O high-souled ones, kindly hear what the Shrutis say on this point. When the father has cut off his filial attachment and has sold his son, his fatherly connection has ceased then. No doubt this boy was purchased by the king Harishchandra, but when the king fastened him to the sacrificial post, he cannot be called as his father. Again, when this boy singing hymns in honor of Varuna, he being glad freed him of his bondage, so Varuna cannot be called his father. For whoever praises a god by the great mantra, that Deva becomes pleased with him and gives him wealth, life, cattle, kingdom, and even final emancipation. Rather, Vishwamitra saved the boy by giving him, in his critical moment, the powerful great mantra Varuna. Hence, the boy can be called as the son of Vishwamitra and none else. Vyasa said, O king, hearing the words of Vasishtha, all the members of the assembly gave their unanimous consent, and Vishwamitra, with his heart filled with love, exclaimed, O son, come to my house, and caught hold of his right hand. Sunasepa too accompanied him and went away. Varuna also went to his own abode with a gladdened heart. The councillors too departed, freed from his disease. The king gladly began to govern his subjects. At this time, his son Rohita heard all about Varuna and became very glad, and leaving the impassable forest, passes, and mountains, returned home. The messengers informed the king of the arrival of the prince. The king heard, and his heart overflowed with love, and he gladly came there with no delay. Seeing the father coming, Rohitsva became filled with love and overpowered with sorrow. For long separation, began to shed tears and fell prostrate at his feet. The king raised him up and embraced him gladly, and smelling his head, inquired of his welfare. When the king was thus asking his son, taking him on his lap, the hot tears of joy flowed from his eyes and fell on the head of the prince. The king and the prince then began to govern together his kingdom. The king described in detail all the events of the sacrifice where human victims are immolated. He started next the Rajasura sacrifice, the best of all sacrifices, and duly worshipping the Muni, Vashishta made him the Hota in that sacrifice. When this grand sacrifice was finished, the king respected the Muni Vashishta with abundant wealth. Once on a time, the Muni Vashishta went gladly to the romantic heaven of Indra. And Vishwamitra too, when they also and both the Munis then met with each other. The two Maharishis took their seats in that heaven, but Vishwamitra was astonished to see Vashishta greatly respected in Indra's hall of assembly and asked him thus, O Muni, where have you received this great honor and worship? O highly fortunate one who has worshipped you thus, speak out truly. Vashishta said, O Muni, there is a king named Harishchandra, he is very powerful, and my client, that king, performed the great Rajasura sacrifice with abundant dakshinas. There is no other king truthful like him. He is virtuous, charitable, and ever ready in governing his subjects, O son of Kausika. I have got my worship and honor in his sacrifice. O best of Dvijas, are you telling me to speak truly? Again, I speak truly to you that there never was a king truthful, heroic, charitable, and very religious like him, nor there will be such a one. Vyasa said, O king, hearing such words, the Vishwamitra, of a very angry temper, spoke to him with his reddened eyes. O Vashishta, Harishchandra obtained a boon from Varuna when he made a certain promise. Then he cheated Varuna with deceitful words, so he is a liar and cheat. Why are you praising then that king, O intelligent one? Let us now stock all our virtues that we have earned since by our birth, by our asceticism and studies. You have praised exceedingly that king who is a great cheat. But if I cannot prove him to be a liar of the first order, I will lose all my virtues from my birth. But if he be otherwise, then all your virtues will be destroyed. Thus the two Munis quarrelled with each other, and making this stake, departed from the heavens and went to their respective ashramas. Here ends the 17th chapter in the 7th book on the freeing of Sunasepa and the curing of Harishchandra in the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharishi Ved Vyasa. Om. Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadra Kali Kapanitra Kali Shva Shri. Твоя мата чапита, твоя Бандусha Chaskata.